wedding cake trends for your 2025 wedding.
Hi, welcome back to Bride Society. I'm Laura, this is Rebecca, and we've done the wedding trends, we've done the wedding photo trends. So now we are looking to one of the most important parts of any wedding.
Oh yeah.
Yes, the wedding cake and the wedding cake trends for 2025. So what are the big styles and kind of themes that are going to be popping up at weddings all across the year? So we might be able to give you some inspiration for your own wedding cake. You might be seeing things that you haven't seen before and think, oh yes, I might like that for my wedding. Or you might think, I don't want to do any of these, I'm going to go my own way, which is fine too. But here is what's big this year in wedding cakes.
Yeah, so the first one we're kicking off with is actually a slight carryover from last year. We have talked about it briefly in other videos of recent times, but we still see it being a strong theme through this coming year. And ironically, it's actually quite a retro style cake. So as with fashion, trends come around in cakes as well. And that's a Lambeth style cake. So I guess if you think retro, that is kind of the style of cake. So this can be any kind of shape, tier, single tier, it all works, but it's the kind of the piping, slightly ornate, but not in a royal kind of ornate way, but lots of pipe work. Often you see it in kind of a cream colour, but it's certainly not limited to that. But yes, that is remaining a strong comeback.
Definitely. And then keeping with the piping theme, but taking that a step further, what seems to be coming up quite a lot at the moment are these like really thick, wavy piped designs. So using these textured, thick piping nozzles to create kind of swirly, wavy patterns across the cake. So again, in kind of single tier or tiered versions, usually paired with other piped decoration, but the kind of thick wavy lines are the main star of the show. Add in some flowers, and it's kind of a very unusual modern take on like the piped wedding cake design.
In terms of shape of cakes, I think when you initially think wedding cake, I think we probably, or at least in the Western world, picture the similar kind of cake. And we like the sort of the round tiered, like 3+ tiered cake. That obviously still totally cool. But yeah, the trend that we're seeing come in is a more rectangular kind of shape. And so it's sort of like a sheet cake, again, can still be tiered. And I have wondered slightly whether it's partly out of, rising costs and things, and maybe people will try to maybe save a few pennies, and so wait, because you can just go to the store and buy a sheet cake that you could then maybe decorate yourself to try and bridge that gap. I wonder if that's sort of evolved out of that, but obviously you could still definitely get wedding cake suppliers to do that, right, Laura?
Yes,
she's a wedding cake supplier. I'm actually going to leave most of this video to her. I'm actually going to let her talk more than me for once. But yes, so there's that, or the sort of big rectangular cake, so single tier, but it's the centerpiece of the table. So if you're having maybe long, straight, thin tables rather than the round ones, this would lend itself really well, and it's basically just a massive sheet cake basically down the middle of the table. So it's kind of a sharing cake. It's you all kind of just dig in. Yeah. So quite a different approach to the cake, I think. Or I think this is a good option if you're maybe not so into the kind of cake cutting moment. So not that you couldn't still do that, but I think if you want to kind of have wedding cake, but you don't like watching in that kind of way, you don't want those kind of moments in the day, it's kind of a nice kind of compromise, I think.
So our next trend for wedding cakes are kind of living cakes or freestyle cakes. Now you might be wondering, what do you mean by that? Well, in a similar way to how some of the wavy piping cakes were decorated with flowers that had very long stems, this is kind of where we're going with the freestyle cakes. So it almost is as though the flowers are growing out of the cake. So often with wedding cakes, if a couple want fresh flowers on there, there's like a little arrangement or an arrangement on the cake where it's just they're placed on. It's very obvious that it's already in kind of an arrangement. stems are short or put into the cake in a cake safe way, not just prodded in, never do that. Yeah, these living cakes, the stems are long, so you need sturdy flowers that have stems that can support themselves, because you don't want them drooping, wilting throughout the time it's on display. It's kind of an organic feel, nothing's very structured. So if you're having a very laid back wedding, nothing too formal, this might be the kind of cake that you might be interested in.
Yeah, I feel like there's no kind of hard, like you say, structural, like harsh lines. It's very soft. I feel like if you wanted to try and DIY your kit, but you were scared about how it might turn out, this would be the easiest of what we're talking about, at least, to try and approach yourself.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Because whatever happens,
it's slightly more haphazard. It's
great.
The point.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it goes slightly wrong, that's the beauty of it, kind of style. Yeah. Conversely, our next one. So I feel like these two trends, but are very much opposite ends of the spectrum. So something to suit any kind of personality here, I suppose. And this would be a sort of, we're talking about like sort of texture and a sort of much more structured kind of cake here. So this would lend itself really well to a more modern wedding. It's probably a white cake, like sharp, crisp white. Probably not essentially, but as there's obviously ways to do all these things. But yes, the lines are solid on maybe part of it, and then there's texture, but it's like to add interest.
Not rustic texture.
No.
So this isn't kind of buttercream that's roughed up a little bit to create texture. It's intentional statement, sculptural almost. So this could be fondant, could be buttercream still, but yes, this is a lot more formal, making that statement and impact in like unusual shapes and textures on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And our final trend for wedding cakes for 2025 are black/dark/statement colours for your cake, because why does your wedding cake have to be white? It doesn't. Yes, that's kind of traditional many moons ago, but now you can really have fun. Well, you can have fun with all aspects of your wedding, but with your cake, you don't have to stick to, oh, I've got to have a white wedding cake.
Even just that, it might just not even occur to you that you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, some things are so ingrained in us culturally that it doesn't even twig in our brains that we can do anything other than like white or off-white with a cake. I mean,
yeah,
but you can.
You can, and it can make a real impact in the room. So it doesn't, like, even if you're not into kind of like gothic or anything like that, you still want wedding cake. It needs to be wedding-y for you, but it can be beautiful and just, yeah, everyone will be like, wow, if they see this. It doesn't even have to be a large cake. It can still create impact in that statement, even with just a single or two-tier cake. Yeah, add some gold leaf, add some floral. You can still do all the things to decorate it, but it's just that point of difference. And especially during the winter months as well, like the rich kind of burgundy tones and things like that. Very wintry weddings, great. But also in the summer, you can do it anytime.
Yeah, and isn't it? I think, like you said, to make it an accent and things. So if the rest of actually your color palette is white or something quite clean kind of color, that to have those kind of accents, really, that will stand out and be impactful, and just like, yeah, add that dynamic layer to the visual of your wedding, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So there's our roundup of some of the wedding trends we're seeing for 2025. Which is your favourite? Are you choosing any of these types of cakes? Have you seen anything else that you think you ought to let other couples know? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.